The breaking news now, a shooting involving a police officer in Buckhead. Let's get right out to Atlanta News First reporter Maria Moreau, live on Cane Hill Place, where family members say, Maria, their relative was killed last night.
Good morning, Megan. Police are not releasing details about the person who was shot, but family members we spoke to say it was their cousin. He was a father to two twin girls, a business owner, and he lived in the area. This is the parking lot of 5 Paces Inn behind me, the dive bar where this all went down last night. Now, investigators just left the scene 8 hours later. We're told an off-duty officer working an extra job responded to a call about a disruptive customer. When the officer showed up, police said they saw someone trying to re-enter the bar through the back parking lot. APD says the person apparently had a gun. There was a confrontation and the officer fired his weapon. We spoke to someone who lives nearby who said he woke up to all this commotion.
So I was sleeping last night and I heard a gunshot. I saw it was like a car engine or something. So I wake up, go to the balcony and go check. It was really scary, actually.
And we are told the officer was not injured. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is leading this investigation. As soon as we get any new details, we will let you know on air and online at Atlanta News First. We are live in Buckhead. Maria Moreau, Atlanta News First.
Maria, thank you. We are staying on top of this breaking story all morning long on Atlanta.
All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. All praises to the Most High. And here we have yet another quote unquote off-duty officer-involved shooting where Linton Blackwell of Atlanta was killed. They didn't identify him in that video, but they did in a later video, which you will soon see. And you'll also hear the contradictory stories between the two articles. Now, this is our dear brother, and I want to say rest in peace to his family. He was a owner, I think a barbershop owner, had 2 kids, and apparently from what I've seen on Facebook, he was very loved in the community. Now, I want you to watch this video as they give you a little more details and see how it contradicts that story. And the story actually makes no sense. As you'll see, they explain how this officer came to take this young man's life. Once again, these videos are fair use for literary and commentary purposes only. Just watch.
A big update to bring us in the story we've been covering all morning long.
Yes, and this is doing the officer-involved shooting, which happened last night in a busy Buckhead area. So we just heard from the GBI within the last 15, 20 minutes or so, and they've now released the name of the person who was killed in this officer-involved shooting involving an off-duty Atlanta police officer. So GBI agents just said that 44-year-old Linton Blackwell was killed during this incident, and they also released a little bit of information surrounding what exactly happened. So according to GBI agents, this Atlanta police officer, who again was off duty, was in the area around Irby Avenue, right, I believe it was the 5 Paces Inn. This is at around 11:30 last night. The Atlanta police were working off duty at the time, and they were responding to an argument involving Blackwell and someone else happening outside of this busy Buckhead bar. The off-duty officer approached Blackwell, according to the GBI, who then walked away from the officer and towards a parking lot in the back of the business. So this officer reportedly followed Blackwell back there, watched him try to enter a car in the parking lot, and then put an item, as they say, in the small of his back. The officer approached him, gave him commands in reference to a weapon, and that's when they say the officer, off-duty again, discharged his weapon, hitting Blackwell. Blackwell died there at the scene. So they also say that there was a handgun that was found on the scene as well. This is all the latest information just coming into our newsroom again within the last 15, 20 minutes. We were on the scene there all morning long as the GBI was a part of this investigation, which is standard procedure during any kind of shooting involving a police officer off duty or not. In this instance, again, this officer was off duty at the time, and that's why the GBI is the lead agency on the case. No word at this time about the status of that police officer, whether or not they have been taken off the job, even in a temporary manner, or if they're under any kind of investigation either at this time. Well, obviously they are in the regard to the investigation by the GBI, but this is also going to be handed over to the district attorney's office, where they're going to review all of the evidence of the case too. But we do now know, again, the identity of the person involved in this, still very developing. This is just the latest coming into the newsroom, but as we hear more from GBI and Atlanta Police, of course, we'll keep everybody updated.
I'm just amazed that we got that update too within the streaming hours. So I'm glad that you're able to bring that to the desk. I also want to mention, just checked some of the banners that we had, and I realized that I said earlier that the off-duty officer is the one who was shot. So I want to make sure that I make that correction. The off-duty officer is the one who discharged his weapon.
Yes, and this is still kind of one of those things when we're learning things, processing them as we're getting them through law enforcement. It's hard to keep everything straight, of course. But to our knowledge, that off-duty officer was not injured. It's just the current question is, of course, his status with the police department, whether or not he's on a paid administrative leave, which is something that we see quite often during these kind of cases. And of course, once we learn more about that person as well who was involved.
Okay. Thank you again for bringing us that up.
All right. And so they're saying an off-duty officer responded to a call. Now, if you are off duty, then you are not responding to any calls. That is contradictory in itself. Now, one article I read, they said that the officer was working at the bar, and there was an argument between Blackwell and somebody else, which cannot be substantiated as well. But then the first story said that they got a call in response to a disruptive customer. And they said, now they're not even saying that Blackwell was the disruptive customer, but they said they saw him and the officer approached him and he walked away. Now, once again, that's very vague. The officer approached him and he walked away, and then he attempted to get into a car and put an item in the small of his back. Now, if he's sitting in a car, one article said he got in the car. So if he get in the car and put something in his back, that means he doesn't have a weapon in view to threaten someone. And even if he was standing outside, once again, if he put an item, which they're alleging it was a gun, he put it in the small of his back, then once again, where is the threat? Now, once again, even if it was a gun and he put his own legally registered gun in the small of his back, why would you shoot him? Is not there a Second Amendment that says you have a right to bear arms? Unless that only applies to white people. Soon as police see a black person with a gun, they automatically shoot. Why do we have a right to bear arms if every time you see a black person with a gun, your first response is to shoot them or consider them a threat? Why are we afforded that right if this right, just simply possessing a gun, or even in this case, the officer thinks you have a gun and you don't respond to his commands, then you get shot and your life gets taken. So this story is very vague. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If he had a gun, who's to say that gun is not legally allowed to be carried? Why does every time a black man have a gun, he is the subject, or he is the target of annihilation? And that goes to the age-old fear of the big bad black buck, who is a danger to society that they have portrayed throughout history. Now, also, this comes on the heel of another off-duty officer involved shooting up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Elijah Wilkes. And, I did a video about that. I received an anonymous video that actually discredits whatever the police are saying happened. Nevertheless, I actually talked to some of the family members, and they are somewhat displeased because an article came out where the family has seen a video, and according to that video, they assume, or their lawyers assume, and they have asserted that the officer was justified in the shooting. Now, some of y'all in the comments of the video in which I showed the ring camera footage have been inferring that the family was somewhat paid off, and that, you know, is somewhat disingenuous, because honestly, we don't know what the family's seen. And, you know, I told them that I will address the audience and the listeners, you know, about their feelings concerning towards that. You know, they don't, you know, certain family members feel different than others, just let me say. And so please keep that in mind. You know, when a family has just lost someone, you know, they may not be thinking clearly. They, you know, there's no playbook to this. When, you know, you lose a relative to a police involved shooting, there's no, you know, there's no handbook, you know, to what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. And I've experienced this with working with the Building Bridges Coalition out of Mississippi, where, you know, a lot of officer involved or impacted families from officer murders have come together, and they're teaching everyone, you know, how to go about this process of navigating the difficulty of your loved one being shot. And so, you know, I did tell the family that I will address that issue on their behalf. So, you know, just keep that in mind when we are, you know, giving our opinions or making our assertions. You know, we don't have all the information. But nevertheless, this is, you know, another sad situation where another Black man is not allowed to, you know, walk around with a gun, or, you know, even his suspected gun. Now, they're saying they found a gun at the scene, which is what they always do. They're going to justify their actions. GBI, we all know that GBI is just an extension of the local police, and they send a particular agent to each particular region every time that they have an incident, and pretty much they're going to take what the police say as valid. You know, never, how many times have you seen a state bureau of investigations disagree with what the police narrative is? Just think about it. And, you know, most of the times when these things comes to light, it's normally an FBI investigation that kind of digs in and reveals the truth. So once again, shout out, you know, and rest in peace to both Linton Blackwell and Elijah Wilkes, two Black men who have been shot by off-duty officers who are not even supposed to be practicing law enforcement duties, yet and still, you know, they've enacted and they've took the law in their own hands when they're operating and living outside of that capacity. And so the scripture says there will be a fierce nation, a fierce continent who regards not the old or the young. And this is what we are seeing with this continuous genocide by police on Black men and women and children throughout America. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this video in the comments. Y'all see the number 919-587-7782. Thank y'all for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And as always, peace and blessings.